and welcome to Frankly Speaking with Frank Portinari, the podcast that gains access to real and inspiring people. Today, our guest is Dale Brendan Hyde. He's an author. In fact, he's an Amazon #1 author. He's got a fascinating story to tell us, some very emotive subjects. So before we do that, I'd just like to make a few announcements. As usual, I'd like to thank all our viewers, particularly our subscribers. We don't seem to have a lot of people to take the time to actually like the podcast. Can I encourage you to do that, please? Because we want to give other people the opportunity to come on and tell us their experiences. And if we can gain a little bit more prominence on YouTube, that'd be very much appreciated. We like to welcome our sponsor, Casual Minds, and I'd like to thank them again. They've provided me with a lovely polo shirt, and like the t-shirt last week, very, very good quality. What I particularly want to talk about is the fact that Casual Minds have set up their new campaign, which has been going for a few weeks now, and we fully support that. And that is Casual Minds Matter, and that's dealing with their messages, checking in on male mental health. I know that's getting some really good feedback, particularly in Burnley. And as I say, they would like to expand upon that. We also continue to support the Alzheimer's Society, fantastic work that they do for victims and their families. And of course, the other campaign that we've been supporting for some time is Change Your Life, Put Down Your Knife. And we hope to attend a few of their events in the near future. Equally, I'd like to thank Gary from Mac the Hat Media for all his help and advice that he gives us. But the most important person today is Dale. So, Dale, I'd like to welcome you to Frankly Speaking.
Nice to see you, Frank.
I've been trying to get Dale on for a while. He's a very busy man. I think, we won't go into the books just yet because there's obviously so much in between as well. But I think we can safely say that you are a successful author.
Yeah, I like to think so. I mean, I think anybody, even if they complete a novel, whether it sells or not, or whether they reach some sort of prestigious awards with it, whatever, I think just, as an achievement for anybody out there, if anybody's looking for advice, it's an achievement just completing a book. So, yeah, I like to consider myself, you've done something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've been quite lucky because I would say probably the majority of the guests that we've had have written at least one book, some more than that. So that's nice to it's nice to have somebody again. As I say later on in during our conversation, please do mention those books because it's obviously it's a very big part of your life. Where did you grow up, Dale?
I grew up mainly in Wakefield in West Yorkshire. Yeah. I always sort of say it's, sometimes when you look back on other interviews, it seems to sort of repeat itself, but I was born in Salford, I was born in Hope Hospital. It's Manchester Royal now. I was born there. My dad's, Salford man. But my mum's like Yorkshire, West Yorkshire. So like my mum won't move that way, but I think I lived there for a little bit when I was a kid. They sort of had flats around Sale and Eccles and them sort of areas. But then, then there were, I think my dad sort of moved over this way. We lived on a council estate, Lupsit. Paul Sykes, you'll know the box of Paul Sykes. Yeah, Paul Sykes that's the estate he grew up on as well. Do you know what I mean? So we were familiar with like Paul Sykes, but I was from a boxing family, old granddads and all them, and his brothers were professional boxers, and so Paul Sykes, it wasn't no trouble to us, but we know of him, and that's where I sort of was for a little while. And then my dad won a car. They were saving up anyway. My dad was working at ICI at Huddersfield, the chemical plant.
Yeah.
And they were saving up. My mum were working in Leeds, like in offices, and they were saving up to like get a deposit and buy a proper house. And my dad put I think it was 50 pence, like a raffle at ICI, Christmas raffle, and he won a car. So they already had a car, so he flogged the car that they'd won it raffle, and that gave him a little couple of grand. I mean, I'm going sort of like late 70s, so it was like all right money. and that was the deposit. And they bought a stone cottage in a little village called Alverthorpe in just out of Wakefield. And that's where I was mainly brought up, up until going to school.
Yeah. Did you have siblings, Dale?
Yeah, my sister at home, with me, to my dad. And then my dad had a previous son. He had a marriage before my mum. He was only young. I think he was like 15 when he had Daryl. Successful, professional guy. Don't see much of him. Do you know what I mean? We speak on the phone a bit and text and stuff. I do visit him and he visits me, but he's very busy with his work, and he's over in Warrington. He's got an happy, a good, successful life in Warrington. Family man, Yeah.
And what about your school life? What was your education like?
School, I enjoyed school. You know what I mean? Even so I was at sort of like St Paul's, and I was at sort of these St Michael's middle small school, and then high school. I only sort of picked my high school because it was on a convenient bus route. So most of my mates, when we left middle school, they all went to an high school called Fawn's House, and there was another school called East Morden. And my mum was like, "Well, that's right outside door. That's bus," and it was quite a walk to Fawn's House. So I kind of just sort of picked it because it was like going to be easy to get to the school and get back home. But it would on a big council estate, and it was a different estate. So all them sort of kids, they'd come up through their middle schools. So they all knew each other. So there were only about 2 or 3 of us that used to get on this bus and sort of like arrive. But we soon settled in, quite popular at school. But I never achieved what I should have done at school. I had the brains. All my reports were always the same. He's got the ability, got the talent, wasting, daydreaming out the window. But I don't know. Looking back now, sometimes some of the daydreaming, I think maybe daydreaming is not too bad. I wouldn't knock daydreaming sometimes. Like school. When I look back now as an adult bloke, I think some of how it's structured school. I understand you've got to learn as a child. You've got to develop your brain, but I was never conventional in my learning. I was still, even though I wasn't doing very well at school, I was still educating myself out of school, and I was reading other things. And I want like getting into classes at school to read books. I'd meet people in corridor and they say, "Oh, we're reading this week," and I think, "Oh, I want to read that," but I wasn't doing well enough, say, in my maths class, to be in that up into another class to do this English class. So I was always in the libraries, Frank. You know what I mean? As a kid, I was one of them that like the smell of libraries, and you go in, and it seemed a comforting place, and I always sort of felt at home, just wandering around libraries, different libraries. Obviously, all my local ones. You know what I mean? People, the staff got to know you, and yeah, I'd be happy there, mate. Just can of pop, pick a book, sit on the tables, or I would always sort of going through them. The old archive machines where you now it's all a lot digital, but then it was like you'd have to go get a slide and put it in, and you can go through back old papers. And I was always kind of researching. Again, looking back to even at that early age, now I'm a writer, I think a lot of the things that I sort of schooled myself in, what interested me, is quite good. It's a good background to have for what I'm doing for research. And, I'm quite, I enjoy researching, yeah.
When you talk about the education system, I've said this to a few guests as well, that if I could have done English all day, every day, I'd like to think I'd have come away with some qualifications. Some of the other subjects didn't particularly interest me. That said, I still retain a lot of the knowledge that I did, learn at school, history, geography.
I think some of me, I've got I had some, I didn't totally fail, as in I didn't finish anything at school. I did a few GCSEs, but there were nothing to shout home about. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I never really truly started my education until I went into prison in 17, 18. That's when I really started deep reading, heavy literature. At high school, my best subjects were metalwork. I liked doing metalwork and PE. I was boxing, swimming. I was playing badminton I'd sort of done trials for Yorkshire. I'd done trials for England team. That had all stemmed from the boxing clubs where they'd said sort of pick a few other sports that you think will be adaptive to your boxing. So when you're sort of lunging in for that badminton and You know, it's really flexibility and like you know, like when you lunge in for a you know, to land a jab or a body shot. The more I got better at badminton, the more it, you know, and it did. And then the swimming was just to build my stamina, but it also like helped me like loosen my muscles up from sort of like being tensed up punching bags. And so I was always into that. You know, we had like good proper old school gym called the White Rose where I first went. We had like the fastest skipper in the world, Mr. Albert Rayner, sorry his name. He's still in Guinness Book of Records now, I think. But he was like a little old man, you know, like, but he used to come and warm the class up, you know, like the first half an hour, you'd be knackered by the time he'd done your warm up, you know what I mean? It was like 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, Tuesday, Thursday, and then you could do a Saturday session if you wanted. So I did, you know, I loved all that sort of sport. We're always outside. And
Did you ever have access to a careers officer?
Yeah, I think when at school, again, you know, like I said, my thieving mind were already like kicked in. I sort of, when it was at high school, when it was like, right, you can go on like a work experience. I remember some of our little gang of like, we'd already been out like thieving around town and up to no good. We were sort of like going down this thinking, what would be the best sort of job to pick that we can like maybe get a score out of, or what can we nick out of it, or something like that. So, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about, in that sense, my mind had already started becoming a little bit thinking that way, do you know what I mean? And again, I'd sort of gone through all the phase of teenage boy reading all the Cray books and all the sort of serial killer books and all these type of, you know, the Jack the Ripper books and all this sort of stuff, and all the American gangster books, you know what I mean? I was reading all like the Murder Inc. and, you know, Lucky Luciano and all this type of stuff. So I had all this in my brain. Think, you know, when you're 14, you know, I was thinking, oh, these guys, what sort of life's this? You know, I'm like just in like a little village. It seems boring. You know what I mean? It was these guys in New York and, you know, dressed smart and, you know, so like I say, I mean, I think kids these days, Frank, now that I suppose they're getting influenced more by these computer games, do you know what I mean? But in that sense, I think some of that's causing, I think it's definitely attributing to the violence, you know what I mean, that's going on, especially like on the streets of London, do you know what I mean? Like this.
Yeah.
I just think they just can't get it out of their head, you know. It's the same with sort of driving, you know, where they're crashing these, you know, they're driving these cars on these games. They think they're like rally drivers. They go and get in a normal car. They think, you know, they still think they're like on that game, and it's like, it's not a game. I kind of stopped using computer games when I was sort of like early teens, you know, like when they were it still felt like a computer game. Once they get, you know, I've been to some of my mates' house and like, have a go on that. I've had a go, and I think, it's too, you know, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like I'm like actually in a scenario, you know, like people, and that's what I'm saying. The smoking, drugs,
the mindset, didn't you?
Yeah, I think, and then when you mix into it as well, like people taking drugs and drinking and then using the games as well, they're just, like you say, it's easy to see why they're just 1 minute the normal, next minute they've stabbed somebody to death, and I don't think they can understand concept of like this line between reality and, you know, virtual reality.
When we were younger, blimey, there's an age difference between us. You know, we go to Saturday morning pictures.
Yeah. You
know, in the 60s, and of course there was always a war film.
Yeah.
There was always a western.
Yeah, that's it.
So on the way home, everyone was either John Wayne or, you know, there was a soldier or a cowboy, and of course they wanted to carry it out. So when we used to get back to where we lived, where it was all bomb debris, you know, we'd land up throwing bricks and slates at each other. It was crazy. Yeah. So there's clearly an influence, isn't there? You know,
definitely. Do you know what I mean? I think that, you know, like I said, we were always. I used to throw bricks and stuff at me mate, just as we were mates. We used to throw bricks at each other. I've still got a few little scars here and there, you know, where you like you kind of clock it one day, and you know, like when you know, I'm nearly 50 now. You know, sometimes see a little scar and think, yeah, I remember him chucking that like half Charlie and it's sticking in my leg, or. Yeah. You know, I think kids are kids out there, but like I said, I think it's gone a bit too far. The games, I'm not. It doesn't interest me. Do you know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you. I've never. It's not something that's. I see grown men on buses, you know, in the morning going to work, and they're playing games. You know, sort of. This is like 6 in the morning, and I'm thinking, Jesus. Yeah. You know, you got. I went
into going to the football, Frank. You know what I mean? Like I didn't. I was obviously a Man U supporter coming from Salford. from where we were. But obviously living in West Yorkshire, everybody I knew were like Leeds United fans, and they don't get on with Man United fans. So, but I would always I would always sort of like, you know, esports Leeds, esports Man U, but he's like with us, and it would always like that. But me and my friends used to go all over. I never, like I said, I never, you know, I'd go to Old Trafford, but I'd go to all sorts of things. I used to go to Sheffield United, Blades games. You know, we go to Liverpool, we go to Anfield. I didn't care. You know, it was just like a Saturday. We're like, where we're going, what to, you know, should we go get a ticket? Should we go somewhere? You know, we're just interested in like the crowd and the atmosphere. And to me, it wasn't like, I didn't really get too involved in the hooligan sort of thing. I mean, you know, I've had a couple of fights at football, but that happens. But I want one of these that sets off on the morning thinking, right, I'm going to go for a row. I want interest in that.
Well, I put my hands up
to
that one because I did it, you know, because, you know, that was one of a better way of putting it when we were growing up, and I still live where I grew up now. Yeah. And that was the culture at the time. But and music. I mean, in all fairness, there was, you know, you pick your football team, you pick your genre of music or your fashion, and sometimes there was a mixture of all of it. You know, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found a great deal of camaraderie. You know, friends travelling, getting into scrapes. You know, getting some really difficult situations at times. But yeah, you kind of learn from it in your own way. And there's some of it I now would say probably went a little bit too far at times, got nicked over it. Was lucky not to go to prison over it. Yeah. But yeah, just one of them things. Not something very difficult when you've done something in it and you see younger people doing it and they're clearly enjoying it and you understand maybe why, the adrenaline, you know, the buzz of it all.
Well, to me, I mean,
I would say you don't have to go to prison now. You can shout at someone across the road in a threatening manner and land up to 2 or 3 years in prison. Well, there's nothing clever about that, is there?
No, I find it really hard. Me, like I'm a bit hot-headed, but you know, I'm a lot better than I used to be. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I still find it hard. I still think some people do need a good crack on chin. You know what I mean? And they should just be able to take it and just accept it, not run to police or go moaning about it. It's like, you know, if you're gonna get in my face and open your mouth and take a swing at me, if I knock you on your ass, that's your fault. Yeah. After that happens, I don't want to be sat in cells and then having to explain in an interview that it was self-defense and police. I mean, I've had a few of them, like where, you know, for instance, I was just minding my own business. I was walking down a street. This kid, I didn't know, he was from Afghanistan, but I didn't know at the time, but I could obviously see he was foreign. But again, it was not to do with, it was him that did something to me. He kind of walked past me. There were plenty of space for him to just walk past me. He didn't need to touch me at all. He come swerving right over and just went crack, like bang right into me. Kind of more spun me like that. And I went, watch what you're doing, mate. He went, what? I went, what? He went, what? I went, fucking what? He went, fuck you, you English bastard. I went, what? Anyway, I just went bang, bang. Gave him a left and a right. But again, I didn't, you know, my mate, I was just about to kick his head in and my mate said, leave him. And I left it, I kind of just snapped back out and I thought, what? You know, I kind of like said to him, what's your problem, you mate? Why did you do it? Why did you bang into me? Anyway, I got off. Anyway, police got me. And then in the interview, it was like, you know, it's racially aggravated assault. And I'm like, I don't care where he's from, mate. I ain't got no problem with him, but he banged into me. And then he took, and if there's anything been racial towards me, it was him saying to me, fuck you, you English bastard. I thought, hang on a minute, you're in Wakefield, where I live, and you're telling me, fuck, you know, this. Anyway, then they were sort of saying to me, well, it's not self-defense because you've hit him twice. And I'm like, look, mate, my background, it was just a natural thing to just go. I says, if I'd have just cracked him, if I wanted to avert him, I'd have just punched him like a good right hand. I said, I just went bang, bang, just to get him away from me. Because he could sort of come at me going, what?
Yeah.
And, you know, I got it NFA'd, but just like I said, that's nothing that's just a small little blip in my life. But just little incidents like that can, like I say, could go the wrong way. And all of a sudden you're walking down the street, mind your own business. Next minute you're on remand for assaulting somebody, or like I said, trying to sort of twist it into a racially aggravated assault. I'm at least sort of, you know, like I said, many friends.
Yeah, you've got to be careful these days. What you say, you've got to be careful. You know, your demeanour, unfortunately. When was the first time you actually went to prison? Well, actually, I shouldn't put it that way. What was your first offence where you received some sort of punishment?
First offence was British Transport Police jumping on a train to London without a ticket, hiding in toilets, thinking I got away with it. I'm talking when I was like 13 or something like that. Guard knocking on door at about like, I don't know, I can't even think. Doncaster, thinking, no, I'm like quiet, thinking he went away. I thought, oh, I'm getting away with this. Got up where just stepped off train at King's Cross and Transport Police, right, come this way. And I'm like, first time I've been to London as well, so we were all like, oh, I felt like Oliver Twist. So they took me in all these little offices and stuff, and there's people typing, and I'm like, don't know where. I didn't know what they were doing. I thought they were just going to have a word with me. And I remember sort of going through one door and him shutting it, and going through another door, shutting it. And I remember him sort of putting me through another door and going, go on. And then like sort of shutting the door, and I thought, fucking hell, I'm locked in a cell. And they kind of just sort of tried to scare me. They put me in a little hostel fortnight. There were all these like, it were just full of sort of black kids, I guess. You know what I mean? It was just like, they put me in there, you know what I mean? Next day they give me this ticket to get home. I got a fine from magistrate's court. I'd give them a false name and address as well so I got done for like giving a false name and address and having no ticket. That was first nicking I'd ever had. Yeah.
Can you remember why you went to London? Was it just an adventure? Was it just the thought of getting on a train?
Yeah, it was just it was literally just in Wakefield Westgate Station. I don't know why. I wasn't going anywhere. London train. It was like say at that age, like, oh, London train.
Yeah.
As naive as that, Frank. Do you know what I mean? Just thought, right, I'm hopping on here. I'll see if I can get down. I don't know what I was doing. But
doesn't exactly ride with a great train robbery, does it?
No, that's right. But I don't know if they did. I don't know if they planned train robbery when they were 13. You know what I mean? Like so.
No, true. Yeah, probably in their 30s, if anything. So what was it? Then after
that, really, nothing really much after that. Do you know what I mean? Now, like I said, the rave scene had started. I got done once for having I think it was like a couple of pills or something. Somebody coming out of somewhere, drug squad, trying to put more emphasis on making out you were selling drugs than I want. Just like little nickings like that, you know what I mean? A couple of silly little shop, like I said, embarrassing, like when you think now people are going to like hear these things, but it's like there's no point saying that they're not there, like little shoplifting sort of offences and, like nicking, I'd be going into the supermarket and getting some bread and milk to, going to till with bread and milk, but I'd have my record bag full of steaks and turkeys and, bacon or whatever, paying for some bread and milk, spend a fiver. And, we kind of did it, even sort of later on, I think when you're sort of in the supermarkets, like where they put the stuff that's going to be, like you go in a bit later and you've got the stickers on, they've reduced it down. So like you'd sort of see a pork pie that were like 19 pence, peel carefully, sticker off it, go find yourself a nice piece of steak that were 20 quid, put the sticker over the top of that barcode, and then just whiz it through self-checkout. It just flash up at 19 pence, put your quid in, get your receipt, off you go, and you've got something nice for your tea for no. Just silly stuff like that, to me it seemed, it was just, I don't know, probably didn't even need to do it, Frank, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I didn't have any money. No. I just sometimes think.
What about a custodial sentence? When was
custodials? So yeah, I started. So then I got more in trouble, serious stuff. I started like mugging people when I was like 16, 17. Started with like drunks. You know what I mean? It's not my uncle's fault, but I'd moved out of home and I'd moved in with my uncle, and he was like a drinker. So I would always sort of like rung up. This is it, rung up at the house with a publican saying, "Can you come and get your Martin?" He's like smashed, you know what I mean? So I was only a young kid, but I would having to go through all sorts of subways in town, late at night to get him and walking him home. And it kind of sort of got in my head there, thinking like, just roll like drunks and stuff like that. So I started doing things like that, like, oh yeah, I'll help you on, mate. Where you going? Oh yeah, taking the watcher's wallet. It's horrible, really, but that. That's what I was doing, and then it progressed from that to more getting out of Wakefield into like bigger cities like Leeds, and then it become more serious where I had like knives and machetes and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And seriously robbing people and just not stripping you, you know, but if you had a nice watch on, it were coming off, and if it wasn't coming off, then like, you know, I'd do something to you to make sure you got it off. So I was in that frame of mind at that age, 17. I got nicked in High Street. I think I'd come out of, I'd even, you know, like I said, there wasn't no rhyme, no reason to what I was doing. There wasn't no plan. I was just floating about, and then when I'd see somebody with some designer bags, I'd think, oh, they're out of the spree. I'll follow them about. They'd go to the pub, I'd get a pint, watching people, following them about. See them go down an alley or somewhere a bit quiet, fly down, get knife out, rob them, get the clothes if I wanted them, or think I can sell them later, get the money, go up to Chapeltown, you know what I mean, like getting drugs and stuff like that. And then like and then just sort of walking about again and mooching about and waiting to find somebody else. I ended up getting nicked in Debenhams. Followed some lads, 3 of them, into like this electrical department on 3rd floor, and just kind of lost my patience and just ended up actually putting a machete to the throats in electrical department. I think they were like buying a kettle. So it was a bit of a shock to them, you know what I mean? They were just like minding their own business. They had a load of designer bags. Next minute, I'm like, right, I want your wallet and your watch and everything, man. The cop caught me on, something flashed on CCTV. Time I like realised it were on top with security, I thought he wasn't going to do nothing to me, but I got outside of misfortune just as I come out the door, and security were like, oi. I started sort of walking a bit faster, ready to start jogging and thinking about sprinting off, and then this what I found out later were an off-duty detective out shopping, you know, just bad luck. He were right on corner, so I saw him sort of like go, oi, and start like sprinting, so I like started sprinting, chucked the machete in this like letterbox, opened it, and it kind of just went in, and it kind of like bounced back out, and I thought, I ain't got to. So I like left that, running up the high street. I seen this copper like get like a newspaper on a magazine and like pick it up, and I thought, he's getting evidence. Him like he's wrapping it, you know, he's not just like picks it up, he's wrapped it up.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, they're on, you know. And I got caught up at the top of a car. Sort of sounds more dramatic than it was. It didn't knock me down, but I kind of were weaving in a car like I did. A car did knock me down like onto my ass, but didn't hurt me, you know. It wasn't like a bad getting run over. But that's how I got sort of like stopped. And then by that time, as I'd got back up, he'd caught up, and then there were a few of them. Then he must have radioed through. All of a sudden, I was just like, I were cuffed up, and then I were in Milgar police station. It's been pulled down now. It's like a Debenhams, but yeah, in there, Frank, for a bit, and then like took to the magistrates, put in the old Bridewells, and then straight remanded. Once the robbery task force had gone through it all, I'd kind of gone into the Milgar police station as you're putting your property in. I took like a watch off and handed it in as my property, and it was one of the watches I'd robbed off somebody. So about 3 or 4 days into like being in cells, flat come up, and somebody went, that's another robbery we're going to investigate. Put flat down. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, fucking hell, what now? And then they got me in and said, look, we've had somebody come in, give your total description. I mean, I had hair, then I had like dark, long hair. And so I had like dark hair right down here, scarf up, hood up, you know, sort of Berghaus type of hair, Berghaus up and scarf. And I used to have a rucksack. And like I said, it sounds sad now, do you know what I mean? And to me, it's proper sad. And I hope it does make people think, if they're young and acting about like this in the bedrooms, thinking that there's some sort of big man, they need to realise consequences. But I would definitely that type of, so, you know, I'd be practicing him. I'd have handle at machete there, and I'd be like practicing how quick I can get it out of my bag. You know, pulling that, you know, practicing, you know what I mean, with stuff. I suppose people practice with guns, maybe pointing them in the mirror and seeing how intimidating you can be to somebody. I suppose that's the effect you want on somebody. Unfortunately, when you're going to rob somebody, it's not like a slide thing. It's a bit more difficult. Not everybody wants to give up the stuff, so you've got to intimidate them, I suppose, and put it on them. So yeah, I've got 3 charges, two robberies, and then an attempt, and I got like remanded, and then I got bailed, I think, on Judge and Chambers, got out, and then I was on bail. The passport would had to be handed in. I had to sign on at police station every day at 3 o'clock. Managed to do that, do you know what I mean? Stayed out of trouble. Knew I was going to get time, because I thought it's too serious to not get jailed. They're not going to like I tried to sort of, I kept out of trouble up to that point, and then Leeds Crown Court got 2 years, so I got like 6 years, but they just run it like, so it was just 2, and I'd already done about 3 months on remand, so then straight to, it was Morelands prison at the time. It was Doncaster prison before they kind of shut Morelands down a little bit later. But when I first arrived there, it was like half of it were an adult prison, half of it were a YP jail. Yeah. So that was the first time I landed. 17 in jail, and then it was my 18th birthday.
How many times did you?
Hey?
How many times did you actually go to prison before you get onto a board?
I've just been to prison twice. First for the robberies, and then I come out of all that. I kind of, for half a sentence, I was still up to no good in jail, and I won't like doing as I was told. I would dark block all the time, and then something just sort of like, I don't know. It must have been after one at block sort of. I'd had a crack right here rolled by one at screws or something. Do you know what I mean? I thought, this, no point fighting these. Like, you can't win this system sort of battle in a way on your own. Got maybe a few books that kind of again sparked that thing back into thinking, why am I waiting? There's more to me than this. Do you know what I mean? Start using your brain. Obviously, I'm getting influenced by letters from my family saying, you're a disappointing. Do you know what I mean? What are you playing at? What the hell do you think you're playing at? So I kind of got onto the education, and when I come out of, I ended up Northallerton, the old prison at Northallerton. It was like bloody 1500 or something when it was built, so it was ancient. Do you know what I mean? It'd been a prisoner of war prison. Kids had been in there. There were like graffiti around it, Frank. Where you turn a corner, it was like Frank 1620. Doing fine. Still same sort of like banter. I used to be fascinated by it, same sort of banter, because it's still sort of say doing time, doing fine, but it was like 1720 or something. But you think they're just same back then as we are now. Yeah. So that was early sort of 90s. Come out, and then I went straight. My dad went in Middle East he'd always been in Middle East since 80s, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. By then he was in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. So I flew out there, and I was out there for a bit, and then I come back to Wakefield after I'd been out there for a good few months, and I was planning on going to college. I'd gone into college. I'd looked at all the forms and looked at all the sort of perspective. What they're called, is it? I can't think how it's called, but that's it. I'd looked at all the stuff and thinking, what shall I do? Thinking like just do me A levels, sort of do my GCSEs again, what I'd messed up at school, and then get my A levels done. And at that point, my aim was to sort of get to university and just kind of make up. I wasn't that asked about university, but I felt I needed to make it up more to my family to sort of go from being in prison for robbery to then now all of a sudden I'm like, I've just got my degree and I'm like gonna, I'm still young, I'm still at this age, you know what I mean? I'm still 19, nearly 20. And then everything really went upside down, and again, not really my fault. I ended up going out with a pal on a Sunday night, slept with a girl. Like you say, you go back to when you're a young man at 19, 20, you might have a few nights out where you're out on bull, and you're not looking for a relationship. Do you know what I mean? You're just looking to, without making it sound too cruel, but you're just out. You're out. You're trying to pull a bird, and whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I always even feel it sounds a bit wrong because of my attitude now. At nearly 50, I'm 48, so now like how I see things now. I think I'm very faithful sort of person to my partner and that type of thing. I don't like to think that even when I was younger, I would have a bit flirty or a bit or a bit of player or whatever you want to call it. But on this, at that particular time in my life, I didn't have a care for anything. And like I said, I was fresh out of prison, just been to the Middle East. Slept with this lass about nothing, no big deal in it. But my friend sort of slept with her as well. It wasn't like a threesome, as maybe what you'd see on a film where you think, oh, proper sort of porn bloody threesome. It wasn't like that. But we both slept with her that same night. Didn't think nothing more of it. Kind of just went home, left her a phone number and all this sort of stuff to get in contact if she wanted to get in contact again. Didn't have any thoughts about going to contact her again. It was just one of them, like, sort of been there, done that, see you later. You know, in my mind, nothing of it. About a week later, it was like a Saturday. I'd been out. No, sorry, it was Saturday. That was a Sunday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was about Friday or something like that, Frank. It was about 5 or 6 days afterwards. Yeah. We're at my uncle's in bed, 6 o'clock in the morning, bang, door like proper come flying off its hinges, all boots coming upstairs, drag me out of bed, get out of bed, you dirty rapist bastard. Like, all coppers proper all sweating and, you know, uniform, all like trying to get, you know, they're only in like a little box bedroom, you know what I mean? I'm stood there with my knackers hanging out, thinking, what's going on? Then this like detective who must have been in charge kind of sort of comes to the front and went, right, Dale Brendan Hyde, yeah, right, you're under arrest for rape. Like, what? Anyway, got me downstairs. Like I said, I mean, I don't want to, I mean, if I say it stage by stage, Frank, we'll be here all night, do you know what I mean, in that sense? But,
I appreciate it.
You know, got me downstairs, got me to the station, put me through all interviews. I was like, no, I've slept with her, but I hadn't raped her. I hadn't done nothing at all like that. I'm not like that at all. I wouldn't ever do anything like that. I don't like rapists. Do you know what I mean? Why are you saying this to me? She made a full statement saying all sorts of stuff that it was like brutal. She'd been brutally raped for hours by us both. She'd been beat up. She'd been threatened with CS gas. All sorts of madness. And I was like, they didn't find any evidence except for her word saying that and my word saying no. And then everything, and then it, again, straight away, magistrates, small magistrates, what's charged, rape, bang, remanded. Next minute, I've gone from like waking up on a weekend. I think I had a wedding to go to, a kid's wedding. I think on the Saturday, I think it was Saturday morning, and on the Saturday afternoon, I knew I was like going to this wedding, so I was like sat in the cells thinking, God, I hope they'll. At that point, I was still thinking, if they let me out in time, I can still make this wedding. That's how my mindset was at that point. Once that sort of day had gone and it had got to the next day, and then like the Sunday, you know, they had us in for more interviews, and then they started saying, well, you know, it's convenient that both your statements match. It's like, well, is it not more like sense that a statements match because we're both saying the same thing because that's the truth? But they didn't want to hear that. Do you know what I mean? They wanted to say, you've concocted your alibis and that's why you're saying the same thing and it, blah, blah, blah. So straight from off, it were like, they didn't believe a word I said. And it just felt that way. They felt a really heavy, horrible presence. Like I said, I'm 20 years old at this point. Felt a really, you know, they're bringing in some big, you know, they're like proper men, you know what I mean? Like, you're 20, you know, they look after me, son. But, the police were sort of, you know, coming into the interviews and coming into the cells, you know what I mean? And just making me feel like, not scared, but I could feel like, you know, the pressure of thinking, what's going on here? You know, this is serious, do you know what I mean? And they seem to be taking it really serious. And I couldn't understand why, because I've not done anything, so I didn't understand why it was the severity were in the air, the tension. But anyway, what? Anyway, straight remanded. Couldn't believe it at that point, you know what I mean? Or thinking any minute now somebody's going to come and say, look, we're sorry, we've made a mistake, get you sent back home, we're really sorry, you know, sorry you've been remanded and all this shit. Nobody come well, you know, went through quite a crazy remand, do you know what I mean? Like I said, with that sort of charge, you know what I mean? Again, because he'd been in prison before for glassing a kid in the face, you know, like in a nightclub, he'd stuck a pint pot in somebody's face. So one angels in that sense, but again, not like this, not the sort of sexual case that they were trying to put across, but kind of prison more difficult in a sense that I ended up that block a few times, you know what I mean? I think by first day, somebody had like said something. I think it was somebody like on even on survey, I think they'd let me out at sort of lunchtime, went, go get your dinner. And I'd put down that I was vegetarian just because I was just that pissed off with it all. They were like, what are you? I was like, fucking vegetarian. I didn't know what I was. And I said to this kid, I want that fish, mate, there. And they were like one fish on tray. And they were great big, you know, I'm a lot stockier now than I was, pretty skinny then. And they were quite a stocky. You could tell they were like, you know, like in prison when they work servery and the kitchen lads and they've got a bit of clout. So he's like, so, you know, he's with all his mates, and I'm like, can I have that fish? And he's like, no. And obviously he's got his eye on it. Anyway, we got into a bit of an argument, and, you know, metal tray just crack. Next minute, the all screws on me and dark block, and so it start, you know, like that. I wasn't like taking any shit, but I wasn't doing myself any favours either, and couldn't understand it. We got, like I said, got all the depositions, went through it all. She'd sort of said, well, not sort of said, she had said, I'd like, personally, from just my point of view, I'd kicked her, I'd punched her, I'd strangled her, I'd kicked her in back, I'd put her in a chokehold, I'd dug my feet into her back, not a mark on her. So all sorts of things like that, you're thinking, right, there's not a mark on her. On way home, when I said, before we got to prison, when I said we'd left house and left her a phone number, that were brought up, and they said, oh, well, you know, it might not have been a real number. Like, well, check number. It is like my mobile number. It is my mobile number. And then probably the best thing, Frank, that I had, when we were walking home, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning by the time we'd done whatever and got like going back towards where we lived. She lived in a different village. We bumped into this copper at like a PC, you know, like a plod on the street called PC Ward. And because he knew us from out like robbing or whatever, they were like, what you up to? So, you know, it's like 3 in the morning, what you doing? We're like, this kid who we like sat down to roll up a cigarette, and I was like, oh, you won't believe us if we told you. And he was like, go on, try me. So like, well, we just had a free in a bed with this lass from, like I said, I won't say because the book I've wrote, I can't name certain things because it's like, even though I should be able to name everything I want to name, do you know what I mean? But apparently I can't. So I'd kind of said exactly where we'd been, what village it was, and what we'd done to this copper. Anyway, this copper, like I said, it's hard to sort of tell story going along and not zoom forward and then zoom back, Frank, do you know what I mean? But when it comes to court, when it comes to Crown Court, this PC Ward come to stand, flipped his notebook, said, well, when I saw them at 3 in the morning, they were calm, they were unconcerned, told me that they'd had a free in a bed in this certain village. And you know, like, I'm waiting for like judge to go, right, I've heard enough, like, this is bullshit case, free to go. But it happened, it's just like, right, what's next thing? It's like, has nobody fucking heard that? Has nobody heard like that she's saying I beat the shit out of her, there's not a mark on her, there's nobody, you know, there's all these like little things all the way through trial where you're thinking, well, surely like stuff I've heard in trials where they get like stopped, surely these things are enough to just stop this trial right now. You know, I'm looking at jury thinking, are you listening to this? You know, and they're getting no like reaction. You know, like juries, I don't know whether they're told to sort of like not show any emotion or whatever towards you. Probably.
Yeah, I've clearly done some research, and I think this is a real. And you may have got to be making reference to this afterwards, but wasn't it the case that she was so, you know, had been so physically abused, was so traumatized, and was basically scared to go out. But wasn't she out the next day on the town? Yeah,
this was another thing that come up in the court. So, like, she brought all these witnesses for the prosecution. Our defence, we didn't really call anybody. Do you know what I mean? Because, like I said, we were just sort of like saying, look, this is our version of events. We admit we've slept with her, so yeah, there's DNA evidence, I guess, there, because we're admitting we've slept with her, but we haven't raped her. So she brought all this other stuff in, saying she'd been to a Jehovah's Witness meeting. Now, I don't know whether she was a Jehovah's Witness, but it sounded like good to jury, like Jehovah's Witness. They're all like, oh, Jehovah's Witness. She said she'd been to a Jehovah's Witness meeting. This is the night. This is the day after. She'd been to a Jehovah's Witness meeting, and then she'd gone straight home in a taxi. And she didn't dare go anywhere else. She certainly didn't want to go into town or into the centre of the town because she was scared witless that she'd bump into us, and she didn't want to bump into us. So then she called, like, let's just say Miss X, who's her best friend, who then come on to stand to back up, like they're expecting her to say, yeah, we went to this Jehovah's Witness meeting, and then we got a taxi straight home, and she was really scared, and I like stayed with her and comforted her. This lass who she called on to the stand went, oh, well, no, that didn't happen. We went like uptown drinking till like about 11. Then we went to a nightclub till like 2 in the morning. Then we like then we got some like a kebab or a pizza and sat eating them in the streets till about 3 o'clock, and then got a taxi home. This is like the night after she's been brutally raped for hours by 2 guys and beat the shit out of. but yet she's saying she's been to a Jehovah's Witness meeting and gone straight home because she's petrified to bump into, like you would be if it, you know. When I read the statement, I thought, Christ, if that had happened to somebody, and I'm sure it has happened to some poor lasses, if that had happened to you, I'd have felt, you know, I feel sorry for you. You know, genuinely, I feel so sorry for you. And I'd love to like get on that bloke that did something like that to you. Do you know what I mean? But that ain't me. You're looking at wrong, you know, you're barking up wrong tree. So there were all these type of things and other things she'd said, you know, there's just so many things, frankly. Like I said, it's why I wrote the book. I've got it here.
Show us the book by all means. I mean, I was going to mention it when we get onto it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we can mention it later, but I'm just saying, like, the hardest thing is to sort of like, you know, it took me a year to put it. It took me 25 years to not do me head in enough to be able to write it in the first place. But it's hard off top of your head to sort of like chronologically put everything in order. In that sense, I don't want to like come across as if I don't know what I'm talking about. But so many things in the trial, so many individual things where you just think, this is, you know, it's crystal clear that she's lying and they're not lying. Now, why is this trial going on? Anyway, got found guilty by a jury. As soon as the jury verdict come in, we tried to escape. My co-accused attacked the judge at Leeds Crown Court. The judge like come off his chair. You know, judges don't usually end up hiding under the chairs in their own Crown Courts, but this one, what? I tried to escape through exit door, got wrapped up by armless screws. He got his head beat in by G4 screws. You know, the bashes about. I think they knocked me unconscious. They broke my wrist and they smashed all my eye in. They were ramming my head into like these stairwells on way down. Kind of come round a bit like that. They abandoned sentencing, they didn't sentences. So next minute I'm on like a car, one of them sort of body belt things, cuffed up to the front, 2 screws squashing me in like this, 2 screws in front, police car in front, police motorcycle or whatever, and whisked off to Armley then, you know what I mean? And then I was put on escapee list for 4 months. So every month, like, you know, with escapee list, you know, I'm up with Cat A lads and you're stuck on there. So I couldn't have any visits. You know, I had to have dog take me everywhere. If I went to the library or I went for a shower or I went anywhere, you know what I mean? It was like, I had to get dogs right, where you going to, what time is it? Yeah. Get radio for dogs to come up, take you there. So it was all dramatic, you know what I mean? And you're thinking, why am I even here? You know, it's not like you just like got remanded. There's been a fate and you think, I've had a week of remand and that one bit shit. And, you know, and then they said, look, you can go. At this point, I'd been in prison like 13 months on remand and 4 months on escapee list. Do you know what I mean? As soon as they let me off at escapee list, I thought, good, I can get on wing, start making some phone calls, start getting through to some lads on wing, start getting like people aware of what's going on here. Do you know what I mean? I was ready to get on roof and stuff like that. You know, I was really up for like sort of like, you know, whatever it took to get this. Because at that point I'd thought systems let me down, service let me down. So I thought I'll take it into my own hands. Like when I watch, you know, when people say, oh, you know, like I've spoke before to like people like Alan Lord. You know what I mean? I've took Alan a punch bag down to Manchester before and been to his gym, and you know, I spoke to people that done like that. You know, strange ways rights, and I think I understand like why they've done stuff. You know, I understand why these lads, other people get on and they're protesting, or they get on and they're trying to say you know, they want the freedom, or you know, I understand it, and I'd have probably gone down that route if I'd have had a chance. But as soon as I come off at escapee list, then they whipped me up to Liverpool, to Walton. And I thought, oh, you know, so I was even further away, and it was a bad jail, do you know what I mean? It was bad. It was full of a lot of heroin, you know, a lot of drugs, and a lot of people like just, you know, like a mental asylum a lot of times, you know what I mean? And I think I was cracking up the end, Frank, you know, like with it all. You know,
well, I'd be very surprised, Dale. I mean, as I say, this is, you know, the idea is for people to use, you know, this particular podcast as a platform for them, you know, and I would be very, very surprised, you know, if you weren't, you know, psychologically and emotionally, you know, harmed by that experience. I mean, prison itself can do that. But I cannot imagine, you know, and I'll declare an interest. I've obviously, you know, I've been to prison, And I think there's a massive difference between when you know you've done wrong.
Yeah.
There's a kind of, you take it on the chin, you hope to get the best, the least sentence as possible, but you can live with yourself. I'm not suggesting people.
This is why I kind of mentioned
process of guilt, or afterwards regret and so on, and and go for rehabilitation. But I can't possibly imagine what it would be like to be accused, especially something as
that's what I'm saying. That's why I mentioned earlier on that I'd already reformed myself when I'd been in prison. I'd done what the prison wanted you to do when they go on. I remember being like on remand for that rape and getting like newspapers, and Jack Straw, what Home Secretary then, or Home whatever it is at prison. And I remember like reading stuff where he's like, "Oh, we want prisoners to reform. They should take advantage of all facilities within prison to reform." And I'd punch back at, I've knackered my hands up, like just punching back at steel doors. That wound up with stuff. I've had to like stop myself, like I just headbutt it. I suppose that's maybe again you're losing plot, but you're trapped like an animal and you're treated like an animal, and they think you're scum and they think you're a rapist. And like I said, if you prod people like that, and if you put that label on people and you look at people that way, then they're going to start acting a little bit different from what the character might be. And like I said, I want exactly a stable, law-abiding citizen at that point anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'd not been, so it was easy for me to sort of like let loose and think, I'm not putting up with this rubbish. Do you know what I mean? But again, there wasn't much I could do in the sense of getting out of there. Do you know what I mean? It was,
and how many years did you get, Dale? How many years did you get?
Yes.
Did you get the same amount of time?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of again shot forward. So just in between, like finished the escapee list at Armley, and then just before they took me to Walton, they took us back to Leeds Crown Court, and I got 8 years. So the same Judge Hutchinson is dead now, and I'm glad he's dead. I really am. I don't wish death on anybody but him. I'm glad he's dead. Do you know what I mean? How he like spoke to me, especially when, like I said, when somebody's speaking to you, they're wrong, and they think they're big wig totally right, and they're giving you this big like lecture about you're an animal, and you're thinking, no, I'm not. You're an idiot, mate. Fucking judging me like that. But I got 8 years for the rape, and then I got 3 months for the contempt of court. And then, like I said, then I'm then I'm off to Liverpool after the Armley escapee list. And then I did another put in for the appeal straight away. The appeal failed straight away. It goes straight back to the judge that sentenced you. So appeal. He's been attacked in his own courtroom. When he did his summing up on sentence, he said, I've never, in all his years on the bench, he'd never had a contempt of court like it. He'd never heard of a contempt of court like it in Leeds Crown Court. So I said no to be. He kind of twisted it again, saying it just shows the arrogance of rapists that you are. And it was like, in my mind, he's saying this, but in my mind, I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind, I'm thinking that just shows that I wanted to get out of here because you've let me down, mate. I just wanted to get out of this room, out of this building. I don't know what I was going to do, but I wasn't standing here and listening to you say, right, you're guilty of this, and this is all getting too, it was serious enough as a remand. But I was ready to sort of think, right, all right, 13 months on remand for that. I've not got no like slashes down me, or I've not been burnt with water, or nobody's like killed me. I've got through it, and I'm going to put it behind me and get back on with my life and just think, Christ, I won't like be as loose with women in that sense, like I'll have a relation, like I say, all them sort of psychological things come later where you've got a bit of a barrier against, with women again, obviously. You're a bit sceptical about what you're going to do or what anybody could say again, you know what I mean? So, I forgot where I was then, like I said.
No. I mean, the thing is that we've been talking about the emotional and the psychological impacts and so on, and I'm sure you could probably sit here for hours. And
this is the thing I don't want to do. Like I said, it's hard, Frank, to not like I say, you could just sort of like just take one day and just go through it and say, oh, this happened, that happened, this happened. People just need to understand that every day something happened. Every day something's happening. And if something didn't happen, you're still sat in this box in a crap little cell, eating shit food with an horrible little uniform on, sleeping on an horrible little bed, and you're away from your family and your friends, and you've got people thinking, not all at prison, but you've got people certainly thinking, well, you're in for rape. It's not best for charges to be like walking about with. But like I said, I got like that aggressive about it. I didn't get that much trouble really. Do you know what I mean? Because when people sit with you, they know. You know what I mean? I didn't like getting there and think, oh, I better go like sit with all nonsense. I just went straight back to people I'd have sat with when I went in for my robberies and thought, well, you know, I had the labels changed, but I am a rapist, so I ain't going to go. That's what I mean. You're not going to. You'll be the same. You won't go in there and think, well, I'll start acting and talking like a rapist, because you don't know how to talk and act. You don't know how to act like a rapist if you're not one, do you?
I don't think people understand maybe that haven't experienced prison, that it's like it's like a microcosm of society on the outside, and you're all suddenly thrown in. And I sometimes think people assume, what you do is you have all the murderers over there, you have the rapists over there, you have the robbers here, and blah 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 blah. You know, and if you start, and I've explained this when I've done interviews with people, if you start to think, well, I'm not like him, I'm not like him, I'm not like. You have to be very careful that you don't come across as almost saying, you know, I'm better than you, or you know, or I'm not like you. More to the point, you have to live. You have to live in that environment, and you have to address a lot of issues, like you say, on a day-to-day basis. For every time you come out of that cell in the morning, you don't know what drama is going to confront you there. You've got no idea, or sometimes even just before you bang up, because sometimes a lot of the dramas take place just before you bang up.
I'd be causing drama myself, Frank. Like I said, if somebody was saying something out of window and I caught wind of who it was, then I'd be one coming to your door before bang up and giving you a crack. So it wasn't like I was like just this little, I'm in for rape and I'm sat here and I'm, you know what I mean? Like I said, once all court documents, I like handed these out. I never give them to any lad that never come back to me and gone, fucking hell, mate, what's gone on here?
Yeah.
Alt screws, I give alt screws it. Do you know what I mean? Alt screws used to say to me mum when she used to visit me, saying, your lad shouldn't be in here. Shouldn't be in here, your lad. That's what they used to say. So
how long before you got to a situation where you went back to court?
So it took about another year up at Liverpool, and then I got my appeal papers through. So once the judge, that Hutchinson, screwed the first appeal up and went no, then you lose your legal aid. So again, then like my family, my mum and my dad like helped and paid for my barrister. My barrister's now a judge at Leeds Crown Court, Rodney Jameson. That's who did my perfected grounds of appeal. So I guess now, like if you look at like in the Stitch book, when you read my perfected grounds of appeal, it's like written, I guess, by a judge at Leeds Crown Court. But at that time, he was just a QC barrister, like at the. I can't remember what chambers he were, but they were a good solicitor that we paid for. Like, and it took about another year up at Liverpool, and then I got the paperwork through, and then again more drama just sort of going down. I signed all the stuff in the office where they said you might have to start your sentence again. They can make you start your sentence again if they don't like set you free. They can add more time to your sentence. If you know, you'll start your sentence again. From, you know, you'll lose this time you've done. So I signed all that. Again, all lads were like, well, you want to sign that if you know, by that point, I was like 20, 26, 27 months into it. Do you know what I mean? So I'd had all that sort of thing with parole board coming and saying, what to do? And I'm like, fuck off away from my door. I ain't coming to no meetings. I ain't coming to no like classes, standing up and going, oh, I'm really sorry I raped somebody when I hadn't done, just so I can get parole. So I know we're going to do all the time. Do you know what I mean? I was prepared for it. You know, I thought, right, this has gone seriously wrong. I was sort of thinking I'll probably maybe try and do maybe 2 or 3 degrees. You know, I was still thinking positive. I was still thinking this is going to be a nightmare, but I'm not going to like, hopefully not get lost into the system, or, you know, I'm going to get fit. I'm going to stay fit. I'm going to stay in touch with people. I'm going to keep as much contact with outside world as I can. I'm going to do some education, and I'm going to get some degrees behind me so that when I do come out, it's not been totally a waste of my time. You know, this massive mistake. Anyway, got down, the appeal stuff come through. So then they said, right, you're off to Brixton. I'd just had a letter under my door, Frank. I'd come back from, can't remember what job I was on at Liverpool, but I'd just come back from it. And I had a sheet under my door saying, you've been assigned a cell at Wakefield Prison. we're just waiting for one to come available, and you'll be on next transfer out. So I'm thinking, fucking hell. So, I'm like I said, I'm from Wakefield, Wakey, Monster Mansion. You know what it's like in there. It's probably 80% nonsense and weirdos. If they'd have sent me in there, I'd have been doing one of them Robert Morsley jobs where you just think, right, I'll go through alt wing, man, and bash all your heads in. Because I don't want to be amongst that type of people. If you've killed kids, raped kids, I'm going to do you over. I ain't just going to go, well, I'm in for rape, me sense, so we'll all join a game of chess. Do you know what I mean? So it'd have been really bad if I'd have gone to Wakefield, I think, because I'd have been a vigilante in there. Anyway, I didn't go there. Got me down to Brixton. A bit more drama, Frank, just before, like I said, you know a bit about like the Irish sort of stuff and all that sort of thing. The IRA, on the day before I went down to Brixton on the van from Walton, they blew up the Docklands, biggest mainland bombing. So that was the day before I went down. So travelling down, it were all London, we're all a bit, still in a terror sort of incident and a bit like all spooked out. Into Brixton, no problems really, do you know what I mean? Just went, like I said, straight onto normal wing. We're only going to be there for a week. They give me a little cleaning job just to keep me out, an hour here and there while you were waiting to when you come back and do something. But I was back and forth to Royal Courts of Appeal and then back and forth to Brixton every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was supposed to be a 5-day appeal. On the Thursday, the IRA again blew up. They tried to blow up. They put a bomb in Charing Cross phone box, which is only, like you say, if you know your geography of London, it's not that far away from Royal Courts.
No, really, no.
So again, I'm thinking, Christ, I used to say to me, Dad, imagine if I'd have got free, come out and then got blown up. I mean, that would have been a good. I'm not sure someone else would have had to have wrote that about me. I wouldn't have been about to write it, but that would have been a bit of an ironic thing, wouldn't it? You just get out. I think I once read about a bloke that done a life sentence and he come out and he got run over by a London bus. I don't know how true that is, but somebody once said that to me years ago. Somebody had done a long time in prison and come out and got, they just crossed first road they crossed, they got killed. Like the irony of it all. So on the Thursday afternoon, again, I've got Lord Stoughton, one of the highest judges in country. These are 3 that are on my bench. I've got Sir William McPherson, ex-SAS guy, did that Stephen Lawrence report when Stephen Lawrence was stabbed. He wrote the McPherson report, one of the most important legal documents ever written. That was other judge on my bench. And then I had Judge Gowery, what smallest judge there. Still, he's a massive judge now. But in between them two, Lord Stoughton, what big guy in the middle. Then he had Sir William McPherson at the side of him, Judge Gower this side, and I were up on I wasn't down at court, you're up on you kind of on a balcony kind of thing. You brought up from dungeon cells. Everybody maybe might have been into Royal Courts of Appeal on a bit of a tour, maybe going, it's quite fancy, but it ain't fancy down in themselves. It's an old court, it's like an old dungeon down there. So afternoon, Lord Stoughton reading through this book, shut it and went, "You're free to go." And I had to say to this screw outside of me, "Am I free to go?" And he went, "It looks like it, kid." And I went, "Get me fucking out of here." Downstairs, screw went, "Look, we'll have to put you back in cell while we do paperwork." I went, "Well, you're not shutting door. You're not locking fucking door, mate, because I'm free to go now. So I'll sit in this cell, but you open the door, go get the paperwork done and get me out of here." Anyway, so we come out again, like I said, IRA's just trying to do a bombing just up road. So everything was shut down. So I had, embarrassment at plastic HMP bag with all I'd give most of my gear away at Liverpool. Some at lads I know up there. Maybe some of them blagged me a bit, saying, "Oh, it's unlucky if you take it down, you'll come back." I think they were just trying to get, but I didn't mind. I give a lot of my stuff away. Maybe some of it, I wish I'd have kept just little things that were more personal, but I was that happy to be going on appeal. I was like, "Here, you have that, you have that." I just give all my stuff away. Over, 2.5 years of the gear, you accumulate quite a bit, don't you? So I'd give it all away. But I had a few clothes and bits and bobs. So I come out with that, went down to King's Cross, tried to put it in a a locker, but they were like, no, we're not having like putting in lockers because of IRA, so you can't. So then I just ended up going to pub Frank, you know what I mean? Got on ale, went to McDonald's or whatever it was, you know, like.
I almost asked you, Dale, because I know where the courts are, and across the road is the George.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wanted to be across the road and went in the George. I thought, I won't say anything, but you did get in the pub eventually anyway.
I might have gone in. Do you know something? I've been like backs at Royal Courts for other people and gone down supporting people. And I know that pub Hobbit Road. I definitely didn't go there because as soon as I come out, I wanted to get that far away from it. Yeah, I kind of like headed into I headed like towards King's Cross, and then I kind of went for a drink round King's Cross area somewhere. I don't know, probably up more towards Camden. Probably not right into Camden, but I probably went up like Camden way that way. And I was probably supping up there. Again, missed my train, slept out somewhere on a bench, come back on train next morning, and just tried to get on with things. But again, this is where this was what really last year on the lockdown made me think, right, I'm going to write this book because I am sick of the stigma of this. And I wanted to write it for other men that may be going through this, or anybody, or any men, or anyone that's ever said anything to me that's got any doubt, because like I said, I know it's a touchy subject and it can be very stigmatic, do you know what I mean? And people can people can quickly throw it in my face. I've even had friends like throw it in my face back at me, and and then really like, oh, I didn't make, I'm like, I'll fucking kill you if you say that again. You know what I mean? But they've like, in heat of an argument said, oh, well, you know what I mean, you were fucking done for rape. And I'm like, how dare you say that, do you know what I mean, when I've been acquitted of rape by highest judges in country, plus there were no evidence in first place. It was an absolute joke of a charge, and a joke of a remand, and a joke of a trial, and a joke, it was a joke all the way through it, but it wasn't funny,
Now, I'm going to say this, mate. I'm going to be brutally honest with you here, right? Brutally honest with you, because I like to think I'm honest with every guest that comes on, for good or bad. Let me tell you something there. If I had a shadow of a doubt, there's no way we'd be sitting here talking. So, not that you need my validation. I'm not suggesting that.
No, I never.
That's just to let you know on a personal level that we're sitting here talking to each other like this. Yeah. We would never have got this far. And as I say, that's why I appreciate you coming on, because
it's hard.
That's not an easy. It's difficult when you've done something wrong. Yeah. And you've got to come on and give an account of yourself. Yeah. When you haven't even done the wrong, and you've got to come and give an account of yourself.
Yeah, it kind of become like that. It kind of become that problem, Frank. Like I said, where people said, "Move on." I spent 7 years trying to chase compensation through Home Office for a gratia payment and got nowhere. And then I had people saying, "Well, why didn't you get compensated if you were like not good? If you were innocent and it was that much of a miscarriage?" I'm like, I don't know. Go ask all other thousands of people that have never been compensated.
I was just going to say, you're not the first, mate.
It's not a person. It's not a personally just my case. Yeah. But it kind of made me start feeling like, why didn't I get compensated? I don't know. I don't know how the system. Like I ended up said 7 years of messing about, and ended up like with a bit of an apology from like the law lord, sort of said, we can imagine, we're really sorry what you must have gone through. It must have been terrible, but the gates sort of shut on this purse. The Home Office only has so much in these coffers, and we can only give it out, and all this sort of shit. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know what you've got to do to get compensated. Again, another reason I wrote Stitch was because even though you hear all these cases that are like bigger cases, people straight away, miscarriage of justice, you go, if you ask the random people, miscarriage of justice, tell me something that's a Guildford 4, Birmingham 6, that sort of thing, because they've had this, they're terrible long cases. But like I said, this to me has been a long thing, because even though it's not been in the prison, mentally it's been 25 years of like this been a problem in my life for no reason. Do you know what I mean? So when I saw them sort of bigger cases, I would always like it. I was glad for them, but I was annoyed for the smaller man on the street that nobody knows about. And I'm thinking, well, they go through just as much, even though they might not serve 25 years in prison. You don't know what they've gone through. Do you know what I mean? So that were another reason to sort of get it out there. Just thought, this is for just the ordinary man that's like, there's somebody now. We know there'll be somebody now sat in the cell thinking, why the hell am I looking at these four walls? We know there will be.
Sorry, was Stitch the first one? Was that the first
book? No, my first book, well, that, Frank, I come out hardback. I wrote The Ink Run. It's like it's a crime fiction story. It's hard to explain. Well, I'll just...
Yeah, show us your books.
That's it when it come out in paperback.
Yeah, I recognise that.
So I got like... if I just quickly, I'll just put it. So it's Otis. I think what it was, Frank, with this, I think I was trying to write Stitch maybe early on, but I just couldn't face it.
Yeah.
First, so I kind of twisted it into a. I think most people that then now say to me when they've read The Ink Run and then they've read Stitch together, they'll say, "Oh, now I understand the Ink Run a lot better now than It says Otis is an abused child, physically and mentally tortured for years by his sadistic parents. Detained after trial for the murder of his own mother, he finds himself locked away in a lunatic asylum for the criminally insane. Inside this hellhole, he soon realises that the guards and doctors are even more dangerous and disturbed than the inmates. A decade later, our main protagonist is released with bloodthirsty vigilante schemes upon his mind, knowing now that you can't escape your bloodline's DNA." And the quotes I've got on there, you'll know Razor Smith, you'll know Noel.
Yeah.
So Noel backed me up even when I first did. He was sort of like the first quote I got, really, because I was kind of choosy as well. I had a few offers of people saying, "Oh, we'll put something on your book for you, mate, no problem." But I will politely declined a few people because I wanted people that had reformed themselves, but who were serious villains. Do you know what I mean? And people who took some Noel's where he's been and what he's been through, what he's achieved now. That's to me is a lot bigger thing than I've done. So to have people like that on the back. Noel put Dale Brendan Hyde is an authentic voice from the street, a man who has lived the life and writes like he means it. The Ink Run is an extraordinary debut and not to be missed. And then I got a ex-Salford Bobby Copper, who's now he's a Sunday Times best-selling author, sold over 1 million copies. Paul Finch put his writing has an air of authenticity that other crime writers can only dream of. So they're the quotes on the back, and then on the front, Frank, like I said, to just show the progression of sort of somebody that started, sat in a cell robbing, all that sort of thing. I've got quotes on the front from Sunday New York Times top 10 bestsellers. Sean A. Cosby. He gave me a quote to do with Ed Bunker. So I don't know if you know Ed Bunker, but Ed Bunker was one of America's. He's one of America's greatest crime writers. But he was a proper locked up. He was proper into his time. He did years and years and wrote his books while he was in prison. He was Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs. If you've watched Reservoir Dogs,
all right, yeah.
At the beginning, he's the old guy with the grey hair. That's Ed Bunker. Right. So Tarantino, on Ed Bunker's debut novel, it's called No Beast So Fierce. Tarantino wrote on that, "This is the best first-person crime novel I've ever read." So that sort of stamped him. So then I've got Sean A. Cosby on the front of mine saying, "Like Ed Bunker's debut novel, No Beast So Fierce, the Ink Run clamps its massive hands on each side of your head and forces you to stare into the pulsating wound that lives in the deepest parts of the darkest hearts." And he's New York Times top 10 bestseller, LA Booker Times winner. His books are Blacktop Wasteland and Razorblade Tears. They're getting made into major motion pictures, with massive companies in America, not the big boys making his films. And I did. And
has anyone approached you, Dale, to do any?
I've spoke over years, Frank, with a few different people. I've had the Ink Run to Shane Meadows, the director Shane Meadows. I've had Shane's sister up here and took her out for Sunday dinner, and he was busy. Some of them, it's not easy to sort of just land some on them and say, "Can you do that?" And even if they like it, it's not Shane. He read a bit of the Ink Run and loved it, but he had about 3 years worth of work stacked up before he could even say, "I could seriously read that," thinking about it as a project. So I kind of like went off that, and I sent it to a few other people. But no, at the minute, like I've done that thing with Liquid Bullet Productions. I mean, they don't, you know, they've not done a film or they've not done a documentary, but we wanted to sort of try to pull off the Stitch documentary.
Yeah.
You know, I've been writing like a sort of scenes for it out of the book, and you know what you could film and things you can pick out of it, and locations. And some of my friends are actors and I work, you know, and soundtrack music, and so I'm kind of working on, you know, I mean, I'm doing other books as well, but that's just something I keep sort of picking up on, because the Stitch, I kind of wanted to do it, Frank, and then my idea was, once that book's out, I start speaking about it. But then, like everything, you've got to sell it, you've got to promote it, you know. So one day it'll just become a part of my book pile, and I'll be happy that it's there. But there'll be that many other things on top of it. It won't be such a significant thing, you know. I'll be able to just go, oh, yeah, that was Stitch I wrote. So what? Have
you had an opportunity to go into schools, colleges, or universities?
Not yet. I was gonna. I kind of was thinking of it, you know, like, and then they had this 2-year COVID, so that kind of stopped me doing stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, I've been talking to people from like Leeds, the violence youth offender teams, and speaking to people like that, and speaking to people at the asylums and the mental health places like that. And I definitely want to go and talk to people. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. I don't know, you know, when it'll be, but I think at some point, you know.
Apart from the benefits, you know, that would you know, that there'd be for a whole range of people, you know. I kind of get the feeling it would benefit you as well. I think the more you talk it through with people, and the more people question you, and you know your state of mind at the time, your state of mind now.
Yeah,
I just think as long as you can withstand that, for want of a better way of putting it.
I can withstand it now. Like I said before, I couldn't. This is why it took me so long to get the Stitch book written, because I'd do bits on it, and then it'd just do me head in, and then I'd think, I'm not letting this do my, you know, it's done my head in enough. So put it on a shelf, start something else. So I wrote this short story, which is like a self-help book for, like I said, in between that sort of trying to get the compensation, I'd got on the drink quite a lot. Probably went for about 7 years. You'd have to say alcoholic. You know, you'd have to definitely say, like, you know, I did the drink that hard. So I was that like pissed off that I wasn't getting compensated, and keeping the case in my mind, keep going to the solicitors and speaking about it, and you know, listening to the Home Office and trying to get through to it all. So it kind of got a bit messy, like, for about 7 years. So I wrote the Whiskey Pool, which is like a self-help book for dealing with addiction and how best ways to get through it. And I use sort of like Buddhism and Zen therapy and, you know, meditation and all them type of things. You know what I mean? Then I went back and I did what I'd done when I was at college, which were poetry. I'd written this years ago. I did it for the T.S. Eliot Prize for the best new verse in England, and it didn't win. It didn't win the prize, but you don't get any feedback whether you come second, so you don't know where it went. So I kind of got my lip on a bit and thought, oh well, I'm not bothered with poetry now. But I ended up like putting that back out, and that's where I'm at now. I've just got them 4 books published. I've just written another novel for someone, but he's kind of I don't think he's purposely messing me about, but he's got problems with his head. And I've kind of wrote a story about all Tenerife Underworld, but it's from a financial point of view. Yeah. And at the minute, I don't even want to speak about it because I just keep thinking, if it don't come out, I'm just wasting my time promoting it for him, and it's not even, you know, it's just been a waste of time. But I've got a 60,000 word novel almost ready to just upload and put out and publish, and it's just sat in my office, just sat there. So that would a bit of a only positive I can take out of it, Frank, is
it's clearly a talent. You know, it's clearly a talent you've got, and thank God that you've made the opportunity for yourself to recognise that and to do it, because I've spoken to quite a few people now, and they've got to a certain time in their life, and even I could make similarities if you like, and have put so much time and effort into other things that they've not really used their own creative skills, you know. And it always pleases me when I see people
Oh, I'm a trier, mate. Like I said, I always knew, like, I've messed up my life in a sense. You've messed it up, and then you get it back on track, and then it will messed up again, and you get it back on track. And it's like, I'm a firm believer of, like, when I die, then people can, like, measure it then, like, what it was. You know what I mean? And hopefully, at that point where I, like, pop my clogs, I'll be in a positive, good. People will look and say, he, from whatever problems were in his life, he still tried to, like, push forward. What more?
You'll be known as Dale the author, won't you?
Well, that's the intention. It's a nice thing to sort of leave behind. Like I said, they're there forever, the books. And sorry, somebody keeps messaging me. I'm trying to keep scrolling.
That's all right.
So at that point, and then I've got another novel that I will write. This is again what's annoying. The guy's novel that I've just finished. Before I took up the offer to do his story, I were already about nearly, not halfway through, but about 40,000 words into another sort of crime fiction novel. It's about sort of serial killers. It starts in Belfast and then it goes over to America. It's in Texas and then it comes back to Manchester. And it's connected up to loads of sort of unsolved serial killers that are still potentially out there. So I won't give it all away, like I said, but I'm kind of back working on that now. Because I've had to put this other book to one side, I thought, screw you, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to let that. Again, it could have been a slump where you thought, I've just done like nearly 2 years' work, 60,000 words. Yeah. The book's ready to go. He owed me a little bit of money as well. It's all gone tits up, really. And he's just sort of like gone off into wherever, I don't know. There's no contact. He's blocked me on things and he's just not bothered. And I think he's having mental health problems. So I'm not pursuing it hotly in that sense. I'm just like, maybe if he gets back in touch with me, we can maybe iron it out. But at this point in my time, I've forgot about it. And it's just, I'm just seeing it as it would a bit of practice for writing people's biographies. And if somebody else comes along, again, I've had loads of offers, like I said, off air to you. I've had a few people say, do you want to write my book? Do you want to write my book? And I'm like, well, but, how much are you paying me? Because at this point, I ain't like spending 2 years writing a book and then you have a little spurt of like payment and then it goes nowhere. And if it's not a story I'm that interested in, like I said, there's that many leg-breaking books out there that don't interest me anymore. It's got to be something really unique for me to go off what I do creatively to then say, right, I'll sit down with you or I'll speak to you on phone for a few years and I'll listen to your voicemails and I'll email you back and forth and I'll come to meetings. Like I said, this other guy, I've been to Tenerife twice, London a few times, York loads of times, Leeds loads of times, thousands of calls, emails, all sorts of messing about, to get this book together. It was a complicated story about the underworld of Tenerife, but like I said, on the financial side of things. So, I'm back. I'm just back working on my other novel, mate, and I'm sticking to that.
You've got your own stuff. And if you're not careful, you will get dragged away. You'll get dragged away from it. You're a big-hearted person, and you want to help other people. And don't lose sight of.
Now and again, I've done a few. I do like I've got a stack of books. What I've got contributions in. When I've wrote somebody a chapter, or I've wrote a poem and somebody's poetry book, or another poetry book, or things like that. Or there's a few books out there where I'm mentioned in them myself. Do you know what I mean? Like some of the we didn't touch on the bare knuckle and all that sort of stuff that I were involved in the UK bare knuckle scene. But again, I don't really want to talk about that because again, that's just a show all in itself, really. So there's no point just touching on it because there's a lot to it.
Well, what we like to do, as I say, if people come on and they're giving of their time, and we appreciate that. And the thing is, when you complete a project, or whether that's a book, or maybe it might become some sort of some play. Someone might decide to write a play about your circumstances, or certainly a documentary, and hopefully, from your point of view, hopefully a film even. There's certainly enough there. And if you do that, if something like that happens, by all means get in touch, because we like to let people know that they're doing well. I mean,
of course.
If someone comes out of a new book or they're working on a project, it's nice for us to be able to put it only. Obviously, we've got the Frankly Speaking Facebook page, and we go on Twitter, obviously social media, and it's nice to be able to share someone's good news.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, there's so many good people out there. Like saying some of them have, they've been, bad men in the past, but there's so many good people that are out there helping people and networking and doing things and trying to help people, push and elevate people up. I'm one of them myself. I can't stand these people that just want to, if it makes them look better by putting somebody down, to me, they don't look any better. They look worse than the person they put down. So I'm all for people, like supporting people, and I support loads of things myself. Even when you sort of think you've got enough going on, you still want to, like you say, if you've either got an art or you haven't. Do you know what I mean? You can't decide that.
It's your temperament. If that's your temperament, then and that's the way it is. And I'm quite fortunate at the moment. I know quite a few people who've got my best interests, at heart, and they're helping to push me forward. And I really do appreciate it. And some of them aren't the type of people that would come on a podcast, but some have. Yeah.
Well, it was like if I just quickly go back, like when for the Stitch book, it was important, like I said, again, reform sort of, so Stephen the Devil French wrote the foreword for me for the Stitch book. Again, you know what I mean? You don't get much naughtier than him when he were up to whatever he were up to. But again, he's not somebody like that now, do you know what I mean? And he's trying to be an anti-gun campaigner. He's trying to do the right thing, do you know what I mean? And, you've got to give him some, again, there's loads of people trying to put that guy down for whatever, because I don't think they've been able to elevate themselves to some levels he's been at. That all in trouble or out of trouble, he's done a lot of good stuff and he's done a lot of bad stuff. So I think he gets a lot of stick, you know what I mean? But I really appreciated him. I only asked him for a quote. I went, "Will you give me a quote for that?" And he went, "Is it about that?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "I'll write forward if you want." And I went, "Yeah, thank you."
Well, Dale, when we invite people on the criteria to come on, we always make a point of saying, we want real and inspiring people. And you've certainly been real today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And certainly through your skills, your literary skills, that's inspiring. I find that really inspiring.
It's good. Like I said, the education blocks in prison do work, but you've got to adapt. You've got to put the effort in. You can't. Like I said, when we were young in prison, it was looked on as a bit soft, if you will. I'm off to night class. Yeah. Most people were just having a game of snooker or watching some kung fu film. It was like if you were off to classroom, it was like that with you. But like I said, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, like my message to anybody, if they want any sort of motivation, is like, as long as you are motivated, you'll find a way. You'll find some way. You'll find a way. And if you've got absolutely nothing, then you've just got to ride it out. You've just got to sit there. Just don't make any more mistakes while you've got nothing. You might think, I've got nothing, so I've got nothing to lose. Yeah. Don't make that mistake, because when you've got nothing, you've still got things to lose, but you don't realise. So you just got to ride it out until things get a bit better. And it'll always get better. Like I said, the sun always rises, mate, doesn't it? It always does.
Well, I'm just going to make a couple of announcements now, and if you could just start for a couple of minutes after, Dale, we'd appreciate that. So again, we'd like to thank our sponsor. Casual Minds, and
the clothes look good.
Yeah, I was quite. Listen, I was up in Burnley last week, and I was talking to somebody. I was doing a talk up there, and I said to some of the fellas, I was genuinely shocked when they sent me this polo shirt. They sent me a lovely T-shirt, and I was generally surprised with the quality of the material, And apparently I've got a baseball cap on the way as well, so I'm looking forward to that, receiving that.
Well, it's another thing I'm doing as well, Frank. Like I said, away from the books and the whatever, I have a clothing range myself, but we haven't got it out yet. Okay. And it's only because I'm waiting to get it to the quality that I want. But it's called Plan G. The G's for like the old way that they used to spell jail. Right. And it's all sort of reform stuff. It's got all like the old Latin on it. It's got charge sheet stuff on it. The religious stuff.
Again, when it comes to fruition, let us know. And obviously we'll give it a mention for him, you know. But anyway, again, we'd like to thank all our subscribers. We'd like people to clearly share the content that we've got. If they can give us a like. Again, we want to mention the Alzheimer's Society for the great work that they do. Change your life, put down your knife. Clearly want to thank Gary from Mac the Hat Media, who gives us the opportunity to put this out on YouTube. But the most important person today is Dale, and we really appreciate Dale coming along and sharing his story. And I've got to say, considering all you've been through, mate, the enthusiasm for what you're doing, and
I'm still strong, mate. I'm still, like I said, we didn't even. Again, this is what I'm saying. There's that many, there's been a 9-year cancer battle in the middle of all this as well.
Yeah.
I've gone through all that. I've gone through bowel cancer, free spreads to my liver with cancer, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, all that sort of thing. Whether that will kind of cause with the stress. Again, when I think back at sort of compensation, I think they really could have really damaged me. They might have damaged me like internally, in a sense that I nearly died. But again, like I said, that's another. Well, it's just another story.
Thankfully, you look fit.
I feel okay. I'm all right at the minute.
You're strong in yourself, mate. That's for sure. And like I say, I can only thank you for coming on. And
I appreciate you letting me on, Frank.
And we really say just out another couple of minutes. And we wish you all the best, mate. We seriously do. So on that note, we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.